Hi there, welcome to the Kenny Veach Cave mystery, looking at another new-ish article which has come about in 2025. Whilst they don't come out that often, it's worth keeping up with to acknowledge the information within, to see if there's any new details which have never been mentioned before, new findings, interesting quotes, and also to clear up the BS and misinformation, because as new people come into the case, what are they going to believe? They need to be guided in the correct way. If you're familiar, the last time I did a coverage on some article or newsletter, how it was worded in the script was rather unusual, because there were some key quotes supposedly by Kenny which have been never said before, nor I've seen, so I'm not too sure where they got certain information from. Some people argued that maybe it was AI generated script, which is obviously not a good thing, because you want the raw, cold truth and the facts up to a certain point to know what happened to Kenny Veach, and it does get missed out at times. And as for research, giving out credit to other hikers ever since and just online creators, it seems to be non-existent, which is rather unfortunate. So we'll see what happens today and what has been included in one of the article's websites. Welcome if you're present during this live premiere. Share your reactions in the chat box on the right. And if you're watching on catch up, leave your thoughts and comments below under the video. If you've got any questions, answers, theories, ideas, and just your general reaction to the quality of the article. If you want to catch up on previous videos, check the full playlist out as well on the Kenny Veach Cave mystery. You'll find that all available top right corner where the eye symbol is up there. And if you just want to simply support the channel, support me, in the comment section, there'll be a pinned message with a PayPal link and channel membership. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Here we are. The website is travelnevada.com, which sounds rather promising. You'd hope to think that the details and information given, if it's to do with travel and the location itself, should be accurate and clear, maybe even including the Kenny Veach hike route, time and distance. We'll see. Cave and the unexplained disappearance of Kenny Veach. Quite a simple title for once. Desert hiker goes searching for mysterious cave, leaving more questions than answers. Possibly. That's from his original hike video, which is on his YouTube channel. This is by Eric Cachanero, in quotes. Right, to kick things off, the comment by Kenny Veach. And the good thing is, it does give a photo example down below, and then zoomed in on the words. In Kenny's words, way back then, that ain't nothing. I'm a long distance hiker. One time during one of my hikes by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave. Now, it's a bit of a pattern with Kenny when it comes to describing his hike route, areas of interest and what's nearby, because Nellis Air Force Base is nowhere near the hike or at the hike which Kenny did. Nellis Air Force Base is east, the outer skirts of Las Vegas, closer to Frenchman Mountains rather than Sheep Peak, Little Jeremy Canyon. There's a big difference. Kenny should have said Nellis Test Range, bombing range, different to a base. But depending on how you interpret it and what Kenny truly meant, if he did really mean the Air Force Base, maybe people are looking in the wrong area. And yes, you could put the argument across and say, yeah, well, his hike video clearly showed the area of Little Jeremy Canyon and not Frenchman Mountains. Well, yeah, but what about his previous hike videos which he had on his channel, which are no longer available? Where were they recorded, located at? You got to consider it. And Kenny said, the entrance to the cave was shaped like a perfect capital M. I always enter every cave I find, but as I began to enter this particular cave, my whole body began to vibrate. The closer I got to the cave entrance, the worse the vibrating became. Suddenly, became very scared, hightailed out of there. That was one of the strangest things that ever happened to me. So the vibrations may have scared him, the unknown and the uncertainty, but Kenny did say he wasn't armed at the time, and that was another reason for him, running away and not sticking about. Though, granted, on his Cave hike video, which you see there as example, when Kenny Veach did get close to Pitcher Canyon, just before it, and he came across a row of caves, one of which shaped like an M. Opposite it, a little bit further down on the left canyon rock wall, a little bit higher up, there was an unusual shaped shallow cave which some interpreted had eyes inside, but it might have just been a marking or some animal stuff. And Kenny got nervous when he was looking over that way and said, I'm not going up there. And then he starts walking off quick. So that's when Kenny Veach was armed, and you see in that photo there, he did have I think a 9mm firearm with him. So even when armed, he seemed nervous and scared. So it's understandable if he was not armed whatsoever, lack of protection, you wouldn't be staying around that much. So that's worth acknowledging. Yeah. In late 2014, these words were posted to a YouTube video titled Son of an Area 51 Technician, and that's true. However, the comments have been deleted since, unknown reasons. The man behind the screen was Las Vegas resident and avid hiker Kenny Veach, using the screen name Snakebit McGee. Unbeknownst to him at the time, his comment would set in motion a series of events that would lead to one of Nevada's most puzzling urban legends. A series of events. What does that mean exactly? The events of Kenny's final hike or the events that followed post-disappearance? Will it give acknowledgement? We'll see. Kenny's comment sparked interest like wildfire. After posting his original comment, several YouTube users encouraged Kenny to seek out the cave and enter again, this time documenting his hike. Providing evidence of his strange discovery, he obliged. I don't know what video link that is. There seems to be an error on it, whether the video is still available to watch or not. It doesn't seem to give a source. Kenny set off to find a mysterious cave for a second time, and this was his recorded hike in October, or at least when he uploaded the video. Armed with a 9mm handgun and a video camera, and a massive tripod, let's not forget that. Upon his return, he posted a video of his discoveries, because of course, to post a video, likely you'd have to make it back safely to do so. Much to the dismay of those following his claims, unable to locate the cave. His video didn't seem to reveal any clues to the mysterious M cave he had discussed in his original comment. Well, I think that's a bit impetuous in a way, because Kenny Veach did drop clues and hints as to where it could be, compared to where he was going. Like, he said, was it Joe May Guzzler on the other side over that way, which is northeast, south, west, a little bit southwest once you go over at Wild Horse Pass, pointing over that way and said there's some caves over there. But Kenny said, but I'm going this way, as in like kind of west down to Picture Canyon. He didn't find the cave he was looking for down that way. So it makes you think over Jeremy Guzzler, when Kenny acknowledged there was caves over there, which he must have searched in the past, could it have been over there? And Kenny got the wrong area? Or he purposely did it as a form of misdirection, dropping hints and clues sneakily along the way? You could argue that. Furthermore, Kenny Veach, when going down or just approaching Picture Canyon before that on the rock-facing wall on the right, there was a row of some shallow caves, and Kenny said, well, it's not the kind of cave I'm looking for. It's deep and it's dark and it's shaped just like a capital M. But his voice, his tone started to stutter a little bit, and he sounded nervous when going past those row of caves. And then there was a covered-up looking type of cave, which Kenny said, and it's on about ground level, like right here, as in right in front of where that supposed looking covered cave was. So it did come across that Kenny was dropping clues in a way. So I think the article here ignored that, unfortunately. Kenny's video was met with much criticism, and YouTube commenters both encouraged and provoked him to try for a third time to seek out the cave, the final time. Kenny again obliged, though one comment would stand out amongst all the others as an ominous foretelling. It read, "No, do not go back there. If you find that cave entrance, don't go in. You won't get out. Let me kill mister." Supposed fake default account, person joking, a prank gone wrong, and then they got questioned afterwards, and then they deleted their account, probably because they weren't anticipating it to truly happen. They were trying to be dark and mysterious, and it truly happened, and they may have regretted what they said. That's how you could interpret it. Prophecy? Where's this going? November 10th, 2014, the day of his disappearance, Kenny set off on his last hike. Now, whilst it does say that Kenny set out or was encouraged to go out on his third hike out there seeking the cave, that's not quite true. Because Kenny Veach, I believe in his hike video, said he was out there 2 other times before. So he was out there the first time, then the second time, and then the third time was in October 2014, and then the fourth time was 10th of November. So those 2 previous times before his recorded hike, on which one did he come across the cave? And did he go on the same exact route or what? So it's not 3, it's 4, which stands out to me. It says, Kenny told his family he was going for a short overnight trip. Well, from what I can remember, it was more so telling his girlfriend or former girlfriend, depending on the relationship status there, because it's a bit all over the place. Though he would never return. His disappearance would soon turn up on a Las Vegas news nation and the search was on. But take in mind, as for media coverage, news articles, it was very short, and coverage on TV and stuff, it was very short. Why? It didn't feel like there was a strong enough push at the time for looking for Kenny. And the other thing, Kenny was not new to desert hiking or spelunking. Even though in that area where Kenny said he would hike and search into caves, all of the hikers that have gone out there since looking for Kenny in the cave have not been able to explore really anything out there because they've been shallow, caved in, or just natural rock formation which looks like a cave or once. So I'd like to know where Kenny found his spelunking areas. It also says Kenny claims to have hiked extensively in the area, even leaving several YouTube comments on the Area 51 video detailing his experience. Well, let's see. I solo hike across mountaintops that most people wouldn't dare go, been in more caves than I can count, even though most hikers ever since have not been able to count any caves to go in that area. I play with rattlesnakes for fun, but this one particular cave was beyond anything I have ever encountered. In another comment, he added, I've been doing this sort of thing for over 20 years. So he's been doing it for quite some time, and yet still on his hike, in that particular area at least, he was supposed to know it, and he got all the named locations wrong, and he said he needed to check his map when he got back home. So, did he know where he was? I go where no one goes, and I never take anyone with me, which is true to some extent, even though Sharon Pilgrim, the former girlfriend, was wording it as if she was always there with Kenny, which isn't quite true. I find skulls of all shapes and sizes, and occasionally I find really old animal traps. I hike over mountaintop after mountaintop and sleep on peaks under the stars. Sometimes I have to scale giant cliffs to get myself out of a jam, but I always make it back. I'm beat up and tired. My pack is almost always heavier than when I left. I had to be rescued only one time by a helicopter. I had blown out my left leg at the top of the mountain, and I only had a cup of water left to get me 20 miles back to my truck. It was also over 100 degrees out, so I have a very good safety record. Well, I wouldn't call it a very good safety record because he doesn't take safety into his own hands because he limits what he has on him at the time as for equipment, like a GPS, lack of maps, lack of food and water intake. So, yeah, he might be challenging himself, but pushing it a bit too far. Even with his impressive track record, Kenny was at a disadvantage to the elements. He was drunk with internet courage. I've heard that language used before. Searching for an elusive cave in the Mojave Desert, one of the hottest and driest regions on the planet. And in terms of civilization, far out, it's not exactly reachable or practical. Breakthrough and breakdown. The beginning of the M Cave hike video Kenny posted before his disappearance. He is standing by an abandoned mineshaft narrating some information about the cave he's seeking out. It was there that on November 22nd, 2014, search and rescue volunteers found Kenny's cell phone, indicating that he had, in fact, gone out searching for the cave again. Okay, well, at least this article acknowledges that, the correct date, the correct year, as in the search and rescue and finding Kenny's phone near to that mineshaft. That's good. And it kind of implies and suggests that that's proof to say Kenny did go out there again. An article at News 3 Las Vegas details, we found his cell phone close to a very vertical old mineshaft and we can't find another trail. Red Rock Search and Rescue Commander Dave Cummings told News 3, it doesn't mean that he's down the mineshaft, but we have tracked him as far as we can. We're having our other crews come in from the search areas. And the mineshaft was searched by a camera being dropped down, couldn't find anything. Ever since other hikers, volunteers have gone down there, didn't find anything either. After his cell phone was found, the trail would unfortunately go cold. Kenny was never found, leading to much speculation on how he died. The mysterious circumstances of his death fueled the internet with conspiracy theories of every shape and colour. They call it conspiracies, but not everything has to be that way. Had Kenny fallen down the mineshaft? No. Had he discovered a hidden entrance to Area 51? Maybe. Had he stumbled upon some great military secret? You never know. Was the cave connected to aliens? Some people say it's true. Or had he simply succumbed to the elements? Well, then where's the evidence of that? The trail ran cold for some time until a woman claiming to be Kenny's girlfriend posted the following comment on Cave hike video. And why did that take long? Right, I don't think we'll need to read that because we already have done. I know we read the ones a bit above, but this one's quite long. So if you want to pause the video, feel free to do so, right? But it comes across as if she was with Kenny quite a lot and often. And when it came to battling suicide, depression and issues like that, not taking medication or seeing a doctor, quitting his job before he disappeared, what else there? The search for him was started within a couple of days of my call. Well, that's incorrect because the girlfriend actually reported Kenny Veach missing 7 to 8 days later, not a couple of days after. So that's a lie. The official police report states that too. So Sharon did lie about that. Over 30 search and rescue team members searched 3 different times on foot. 1 helicopter flyover was done and there was no trace of Kenny or any of his camping things. Found his car in the area, told them where it would be. They did find his cell phone by the mineshaft in the video. The mineshaft was only about a 4-hour hike from his car, which is pretty much true. My feeling, he left it behind so that he could not be tracked from the GPS in it. He also did not take his video camera with him on his solo hike. But in a different comment, Sharon said another camera couldn't be found, so maybe Kenny Veach took that instead. No mention about the loose change found at the mineshaft, which is weird. What else do we have here? Bring GPS. Oh yeah, it was just additional comments. You'll not be able to carry out enough water, so please be careful. I had many wonderful experiences with Kenny and so on. Closure. Was that it? Had the mystery of Kenny Veach been solved? Speculation abounds across internet circles. The story has been scrutinised and investigated time and time again, and so far no conclusion has been reached. Well, you may say that, but some people have reached conclusions or part conclusions. At some points previously, I did my coverage and bits of evidence along the way to suggest Kenny was still alive, Kenny Veach was elsewhere, he staged his disappearance, and there's some material that can suggest and prove that. So this article doesn't take into consideration, they've not done their research, which is typical. Some ventured to guess that Kenny had in fact taken his life and the woman claimed to be his girlfriend was telling the truth. Others insist that Kenny had gone back and found the cave again, discovering a dark, dangerous secret that lies within. You decide. Well, let's just add on the things what it failed to mention. So once again, another blandish article, which is probably the shortest one yet. Still managed to make mistakes about when Kenny Veach was actually reported missing. Jumping to the conclusions and expecting that just everybody doesn't really know what's happened and it's unknown of, even though some of us do have an idea or have suggestions and there is evidence to support it, like what I've done on my channel. These articles haven't really done the research or haven't really bothered looking, just told the same old regurgitated story, the same thing that big YouTubers would do themselves if they got involved in this case, or even TikTokers. So it is disappointing to see. I think what's even more disappointing to see is the fact that most of these articles and news coverage at times reference the phone being found near the mineshaft, but they always neglect the loose change, the coins. Yeah? That would have been deep in Kenny's pocket, way down at the bottom of a pocket at the base, meaning you'd have to pull those coins out one by one or all in one go manually. But because of the trousers that Kenny Veach was wearing, likely like cargo hiking pants, the pockets are quite deep on the sides. So if you're going to bend over slightly, the coins aren't just going to magically fall out, unless there was an object in the pocket which was sticking out, protruding a little bit, and then it slipped out like a phone. But if you got deep pockets, for the stuff to come out the contents, likely you'd have to turn your pockets inside out on purpose, or reach in and pull everything out. Why would Kenny Veach pull out his coins? If it's to pull out the phone, maybe to avoid being tracked, but it would have been easier if he didn't bring his phone in the first place, or he left it further back down Joe May Road before even parking up. That could have been another thing he could have done instead of doing it right at the mine shaft. unless Kenny did that on purpose to say, look, I've gone so far, so it's enough evidence to say that I'm definitely out here. So Kenny Veach just wanted to at least bring a bit of closure to people, family, to say, yes, I am out here, I'm nowhere else, so it's okay. You can't find me, you won't find me, but you can at least know and anticipate that I am out there somewhere and not the opposite way. But, you know, other people have interpreted it a little bit different there. The condition of the phone never really explained. These articles don't even consider the condition of the phone. If the phone was gently placed down, maybe Kenny Veach did that on purpose, or somebody else did that on purpose. If the phone was broken or smashed, higher chances, depending on the condition, that maybe it was done to try and destroy it, remove of evidence, to make sure it couldn't be used or traced, or maybe in a rush, in a hurry, in danger, in a fight, in a scrap, and that's why the phone broke or smashed, but we don't know the condition. But I think the coins is an interesting factor, as in they can't be traced or tracked, the coins, like digitally, but if coins were dropped along the way, it could create a trail. But did Kenny take all the coins out at once so then no one could trace him? But as long as you keep those coins in your pocket, and likely they would remain in there, you wouldn't have to worry about them falling out. But with a phone, because of the GPS, the phone pings, and if you got your phone on, you could be traced and you could be tracked. And if you don't want to be found, you'd leave your phone behind or dump it at some point. But coins, as long as they stay in your pocket, it shouldn't be a problem. So why did Kenny manually reach in to get rid of the coins as well? And why did he even take coins with him in the first place? Why did he even bother taking his phone with him in the first place? So it's interesting. The other thing that's very disappointing, which isn't mentioned enough, if not ever, is the scent. They say the trail ended near or at the mine shaft and it didn't go on any further. The trail of what exactly? Because in the earlier days, or when I was covering the case more on, it was worded as the scent of Kenny Veach. And I think they used the dogs to sniff it out. And Kenny Veach's scent guided them to the mine shaft. That's why they went that way. And once they got to the mine shaft, the scent ended abruptly. It didn't go on any further. Is it because the scent onwards expired or dispersed? Maybe. But if Kenny Veach was reported at a more appropriate time and not 7-8 days later, maybe his scent would have been more fresh and still about. So it wouldn't have dispersed as quickly. It wouldn't have dispersed with time if you act on it quick. So they could have gone to the mine shaft, the scent could have continued on, and you could have got a little bit closer to trying to retrace Kenny Veach's scent and steps. But because it was done a bit too late, wasted opportunity, wasted chances. And whilst ever since new hikers have come along and have gone on further to search, they've not been successful in finding Kenny. So if the scent was done quicker and went further, you would have, followed a bit more of a concentrated trail to establish a ground zero point of where you start from and then branch off from and then go from there. I think it just would have helped in some way. Whilst it's normally true crime cases where the criticism is made about how police handle stuff, I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section in regard to the search efforts, and even by Red Rock Search and Rescue. Do you have any criticisms around their investigation or what they did? It might be hard to give thoughts when we don't know that much about the searches, when they keep tight-lipped about it. But if you do know of anything, you let me know what should have been done compared to what was done. Was there enough time spent on it? Did people give up too soon? The family? Anyone else in between? The police? The news coverage? Could more have been done back then? I'd argue and say, at least from the girlfriend's point of view, that claims to have reported Kenny missing a couple of days, 1 to 2 days later, when actually it was 7 to 8 days later. The girlfriend could have reported Kenny missing quicker in order to get maybe a little bit closer to the truth or the possible location, as in with the scent not expiring the way it did. So that's my thoughts. I do think the article overall, what we looked at today, was very underwhelming, but at least it didn't go too off in lots of misinformation. That's something. I know some of these can be a little bit boring, but it's just to keep that consistency and just to bring things back into perspective so people don't forget, or new people that come on in don't get misguided or confused. And I tried looking through my previous videos, as in have I done a coverage on this particular article before? And from the looks of it, I haven't, and I did double check. I've only made one other Kenny Veach video in 2025. As for articles, the others were in 2024. And this article was created in 2025, March or May time. So that's why it needed to be done, just to catch up on. Sometimes when you look online, they're not even in the correct order or the relevancy of what's posted. So it's a bit hit and miss. But hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting. You let me know the factors and elements, what you hold close as importance within the case. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Feel free to hit the like button, share the video, and goodbye.